listening to the Creativity of Beats podcast with Omito Beats.
All right, what's going on, guys? Thank you, everyone, for joining into my second podcast episode. This is the Creativity of Beats, and I'm your host, Omito Beats. I just want to say thank you so much, everyone, for listening to the last episode. I'm recording this one day after the first episode went live, and I received a ton of awesome feedback from you guys. I mean, it was so awesome to see that, you guys support the new project. It's been in the works for a while, as I mentioned, and just all the awesome feedback and positive words that you guys left me. So thank you guys so much. As I mentioned in the last episodes, that a lot of these podcasts are going to have topics about music production, music marketing, and that's what I'm going to get into with this episode. Well, not necessarily music marketing, but I'm just getting into a topic here, right? Because I know you guys wanted this. And today's topic is something that I live by when I make beats, when I put out beats online. And I think it's something that a lot of producers and musicians and rappers and singers and any type of, artist, or I don't know, maybe anyone can live by this rule, right? So this is like a saying that I always tell myself, and that's there are no rules. I mean, in this industry, in this music industry, I feel like there's no rules with it. You can do whatever you want and still make it, right? And music is somewhere where, you can get creative as you can and still, make it big, right? And that's one of the things too that will help you make it big, is if you sort of just step out of the box and do something brand new. I mean, for example, if you're a music producer, you're your own entrepreneur. Like, you run your own business. You do everything yourself. And even if you're an artist or a songwriter, unless you're working directly under someone, or you're signed to a group or something like that, then, a lot of times you're in this on your own, right? And I think a lot of us, we look up to people who sort of do the same, right? Like, we get inspiration from some people. And I think sometimes people see inspiration and they think that, okay, well, this is the way that it has to go, right? Like, for example, if you're a music producer, you might think, okay, well, making, this type of beat is how you're going to make it big and how you're going to get discovered. And so you should only focus on doing this because so many other people are doing it, right? But that's something that I've, more recently, I've tried to step away from doing what everyone else is doing. And I'll tell you, it's been successful for sure. Later in this podcast, I'm going to be talking about sort of why I switched up my sound. Especially last year, I got all these questions of why I switched from making hip-hop beats mostly to making pop beats, tropical house, EDM type beats. So that's what I'm going to be talking about towards the end of this podcast. And I hope it answers a lot of questions about why I made this switch, right? But speaking about there are no rules as a musician, I mean, you run your own brand, right? There's nobody who can tell you what to do or what not to do, right? And I wanted to share this story of something that happened to me a few years ago that really opened my eyes to this mindset of there are no rules in this game. So I just give a little background to it. So I had my YouTube channel, right? And I was putting out all these hip-hop beats, Drake beats, J. Cole style beats, all that stuff, right? A lot of hip-hop instrumentals. And this was at a time where my YouTube channel was picking up some traffic, numbers were, rolling in, subs were rolling in, all that stuff, right? It was my come up, right? But so I got this email from, he was a musician, and he told me that he came across my stuff on YouTube, and he wanted to know what sort of equipment it takes to make hip-hop beats. Like, I guess he was kind of wondering, okay, well, what software do I need? Do I need a certain type of speakers? Do I need, certain, like an MPC to make hip-hop beats, right? And So he emailed me and he was asking me, he was like, hey, I've built up, or he's like, hey, I've made all this money doing, I've made all this money and I'm ready to invest it into a studio for hip hop beats. And he said he's listened to my stuff on YouTube and he wants to know what equipment he needs to make beats like I was making, right? But what opened my eyes was this guy. He said that he had all this money to invest into his craft and into all these studio upgrades because he was making instrumental like lounge music. Like, like if you ever go into like a spa or like a lounge or like an elevator or a lobby, there's like some background music that's playing, right? Or just really calm. This guy was making music like that, and he was making a killing off of it. He was making a ton of money. And then he, this wasn't his passion. I guess his passion was in hip hop music, which is why he wanted to get into that. And he told me that he wanted to do hip hop originally, but in order to, what he thought was, in order to make hip hop beats, he thought he needed all this money and the studio equipment. So he spent a few years making money by making this instrumental, like this chill out. It's not even like electronic, it's just this other type of music that you hear in lounges, right? And I mean, this guy, he was obviously making good enough money to spend it back into studio upgrades and want to do things like that. And it opened my eyes a lot because this was a time, like I said, where, I was focused on YouTube, putting out all these hip hop beats, and it never really, crossed my mind to think, okay, well, what can I be doing in other genres to make money and to do it, right? I was thinking like, okay, well, this guy's making it big, right? Well, not that he's making it big, but he's obviously making enough money, right? And there's probably no competition for this guy. I mean, if you go on YouTube and you go on SoundCloud, and especially nowadays, there's a lot of producers making trap and rap and hip hop beats. Like, that's sort of like the go-to with beats, right? And I totally get that. And I think that's cool to make that music. And it was crazy because, like, if you enter a different genre, you can do sort of the same things and you can make money off your music, but there's less competition and there's no rules. This was like, also, this was years back, but I saw a Facebook post from a producer, and he had this contact library. I have the contact library. It comes with Complete Ultimate. It's like this Cuban music library, right? And this guy was making like salsa music, and it was like, you just use that plugin for that. But this video had like, it was shared so many times. It had so many thousands and thousands of plays on it, right? And when I see these things, it gets me thinking that, what can I be doing differently? Because I know a lot about music production, right? I mean, I've been doing this for, 8-9 years or something. Like, can I be doing something else musically to tap into a different market that, nobody has, thought of doing, right? And that's another thing, like, about how there's no rules in this game. You can make, country music. I know a guy who makes country music, and his beats sell very well. And I think, like, okay, well, I'm trying to think who other people I know makes country instrumental beats, right? This is the only guy I know who's doing it, and he's doing it well because he's the only one doing this. And, it's not only what you can be doing musically, but I want to talk about, there are no rules to how you market your beats online. Like, think about it. Like, we all are competing for, YouTube and SoundCloud, but who's stopping you from getting iMessage numbers or WhatsApp numbers of everyone who buys your beats, and get iMessage numbers of all these artists and singers and rappers, and every time you make a beat, send them a voice message of what you're working on. Send them a video of you in the studio. Say, hey, I'm in the studio right now, I'm working on this beat, I wanted you to hear it first. And then, like, if you have a whole list of people you're texting every time you're making a beat, odds are you're gonna have at least like one of them, especially if they've bought a beat before, they're gonna hear that, and you're gonna be texting them directly, so they're probably gonna buy that beat if they hear it, right? And I mean, that that's something that I want to do too, like just figure out new ways to do it, because that's how you stay on top of the competition. This like a secret, right, that I'll fill you guys in on. That's how you stay on top of the competition, is to just do something that no one else is doing, and to think forward, right? To have a forward thinking mindset on this subject. Like, there's nothing stopping you from doing whatever you want in this industry, right? There's a lot of other things I could talk about, like, those producers who sell, I don't know, like 10 beats exclusively for $10, like you always see on Twitter, right? Like, buy 10 beats for $10, buy 10 beats, get 20 free. And like, I see at one point that's, like, that's not the norm, right? And yeah, is it gonna offset our business if we're selling beats for $30, $50? It might, but you know what? There's no rules to this game. Like, everyone's doing something different. And although we're all in the music industry, we're all different businesses, right? We're all doing different things all the time. And I guess I'll lead into my point about why I make pop beats. And this is just the same ideology. And it's the same mindset. I can't even pronounce that word. I'm just going off on a rant right now. But that's the same mindset of there are no rules to this, right? Like, why can I switch from making pop beats or switch to making pop beats from hip hop beats and then go back to like trap and then do some EDM beats? It's because there's no rules. No one is telling me that I have to be placed in a box musically. And that's something that I never want to do. There's too many good genres out there of music, and I sit at home and I do emails, I work on marketing on my beats and replying to your guys' messages, and I'm listening to all sorts of stuff, right? I mean, music is too good to be confined to one genre. And I make pop beats because I want to, honestly. I can't think of a real other reason. Like, is it is it something new that no one's doing? Well, yeah, maybe it's something new that a lot of people aren't thinking of doing. But the main thing is, it's because I want to do it. And there are no rules that say I can't do this. And there are no rules that that'll say, you can't sell a ton of beats that sound like this. You can't sell a ton of Justin Bieber type beats. There are no rules that say that, right? And I don't want to be, so strict with my music, right? Because music is universal. There's so many different genres. Everyone has different ears, right? Think of when you hear an awesome song and you're just dying to show your friend this song, and you're like, this is the best song in the whole world. If I had on repeat, you'll show your friend and they might not like it, right? They're like, yeah, this song sucks, right? Happens to me all the time, but everyone has, different ears, right? Everyone has different opinions with music. So I try and get super experimental with my stuff and branch out and try different things, because eventually I might find something that really, really sticks, right? Something that might just, take off, and it might be something that I never would have considered doing if I hadn't tried something new, right? I mean, right now I'm trying to do as many things as possible to find that. And learning hip-hop and rap production has given me the ability to branch off and make pop beats, right? Because, the past year, I've really liked the pop songs that have been out. And so, yeah, it's just preference, right? So adding another point about there are no rules in this music, and how you should try doing a bunch of different genres to see what sticks, right? I mean, think about, like, Lil Wayne put out his rock album, right? Lil Wayne, he was I forget what year it was like 2006 or something. There was that award show where he was like voted the best rapper alive, right? And man, I believe it. When the Carter, the Carter 1, the Carter 2, the Carter 3, that was a legendary album. And I remember every time I would come across the song and I would hear, or I would see in the title that Lil Wayne is featured in the song, I'm listening to that song just for that Lil Wayne part. And there are songs I remember that came out in like the early 2000s or mid 2000s, whatever, that I would listen to, and I would listen to the whole song, and Lil Wayne's part came on, and I would like repeat that part. Like, he was such an awesome rapper, right? He still is awesome. But he put out a rock album. I mean, like, it's just like, it baffled people, right? Like, Lil Wayne's putting out a rock album, like, that's crazy. And I don't know if I'm alone on this. I think that album was very well done. I still listen to it all the time. I mean, I think it's not all the time, but occasionally I'll go back and listen to it, and I love it, right? I love it. I think it sounds great. I mean, the rock production on it and Lil Wayne's voice is definitely unique, and I love it. It's so crazy. But it was just the fact that it was something brand new that he did, right? And I mean, like, yeah, it didn't stick. He didn't become the next huge rock star, right? He's not making all these rock songs now, but, he did something new, right? He tried it out. He might have got some new rock fans, right? And I mean, like, I still listen to the album, so, hey, it's working for me, right? And it motivated me. It inspired me. He's not the only one to do this whole "there are no rules" thing, right? I spoke about this on an Instagram post a few weeks that, thinking about some other albums that cross boundaries, that step out of the box, like Chance's album, what's it called, Coloring Book? Like, that's listed as a gospel album. I mean, that's not a hip-hop album. It's literally a gospel album, and it's in the category of gospel albums. Like, that's awesome, right? And Kanye put out 808s and Heartbreaks. Kanye is always stepping, out of boundaries and doing this "there are no rules" mindset, right? Like, I remember when Yeezus first came out, and there's that first song called "On Sight," and it's just like so much distortion, and it's like crazy, and you're listening to it and you're like, what is this? What am I listening to? And then just like, a minute into the song, it breaks into a choir and it goes back. But like, that whole album is so unique, right? I'm getting way too into this Kanye conversation too. I could speak for hours on these albums, but that album was something new, and that's what I always liked about Kanye West, and I always loved about him. And what always kept me listening to his stuff was that he was always forward thinking. He was always one to step out of boundaries and bring something new to the table, right? And it worked. His albums are legendary. And, I'll give you guys one other example of someone that's doing something different. I know that Lupe Fiasco, and I'm pretty sure, I'm actually going to look this up right now because I don't want anyone like fact checking me. I'm pretty sure it's Lupe Fiasco. I think he has like a rock band. Right? Yeah, I'm going on Wikipedia right now. Lupe Fiasco is in a rock band. I thought it was a Japanese rock band, but it's an American rock band. It's called Japanese Cartoon. I've heard some of the songs before too. I don't think I'm a huge fan, but I mean, Lupe Fiasco, I love Lupe Fiasco as a rapper, especially his early work, right? And he's always, a rapper to me. And then he's putting out stuff like, he's in a rock band. He's doing something different, right? And I'll also say, like, Childish Gambino, too. I'm just listing off these albums and artists because I'm getting hyped about thinking about them. Childish Gambino's recent album, I mean, there's no rapping on that thing at all. It's a crazy album. This psychedelic rock, like post-funk album. I don't even know what you call that genre. It sounds like James Brown, but in 2017 or whenever that came out. Like, it's so unique, and there are no rules. And I remember that album, when it came out, everyone was listening to it. Everyone was tweeting about it, regardless if you had mixed feelings about it. He still did something different. He played by "there are no rules." And, that album took off. I think it was nominated for a Grammy. I remember he performed "Terrified" at the Grammy Awards. It was an awesome performance, too. And, yeah, he did something different that no one else was doing, right? He crossed that border. He put out something new. And I'm going to wrap up this podcast here before I ramble on too much, but just what I want you guys to take away from this episode. I know I spoke a lot about producers and beat makers, but, if you're any type of musician or just in any industry, like, what's stopping you from doing something creative? And what's stopping you from bringing something new to the table? Because that's what I think that, the artists right now are blowing up because the artists that I hear that are new, they've brought something new to the table. And it's just because, there are no rules, right? Everyone's trying to do something different. And that's how you distinguish yourself. And that's how you become more memorable. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Any, feedback and comments that you have is greatly appreciated. Like I've been saying, this podcast was going to be a once a week thing, but the first few weeks, maybe until the end of March, I'm going to be doing maybe 2 episodes a week, at least 1 episode a week, but to kick it off, I might be doing 2, right? So make sure you guys subscribe wherever you are listening to this, and make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at Omito Beats. That's the platform that I'm going to be posting first about these new podcasts, right? And in my story, you guys can come behind the scenes with me. And if you guys are feeling it, let me know. If you guys are inspired, let me know for real. And just any ideas that you guys have for future episodes, let me know too. I have a list of episodes that I'm going to go through. I'm having a guest on this podcast towards the end of the month, which I'm not going to be giving out too many details now, but I'm stoked to have this guest on here. And I think that you guys will really be inspired when this guest is on here too. And this is a lot of fun. So I'm going to wrap it up there anyways. Take it easy, guys. Remember, get creative with it. There are no rules to whatever you do. Step out of boundaries and, kill it, right? Crush the industry. Make a hit. All right, take it easy, guys. Easy, guys.